All right. So here we go. I'm going to be a little more energized, hopefully. At least more than usual. Try to be a little bit. Hopefully the mic can pick it up. Capitalism and selfishness. Like peanut butter and jelly. I think that, like I say, I mean, you could talk about Ayn Rand. You could talk about various folks who have talked more about this. But I think it's plain as the nose on your face. And I think to a point, this is why it would be so hard to create. I'm gonna go into somewhat of a more of like a Jason Unruh point or whatever. But this is the, being in the United States, this is the capitalist core, as they say, right? The selfishness that exists between us, between the working class, runs deep. That whole every man for themselves sort of mentality is very strong. And I think that outside of the internet, very few people have been able, especially in recent decades, to unite any large segment of the working class. You can have Black Lives Matter, and then of course, you'll have the fact I don't think that BLM itself probably doesn't have as much influence as you may think over what occurred in Minnesota, what occurred in LA or wherever, right? I really, like I say, maybe this is kind of like the Antifa thing, right? Antifa, they're all independent groups, they're all not responsible for each other, this and that. It's spontaneous. So what Rose City Antifa does is different than what NYC Antifa does. I've talked about this already, but the thing is that these are segments of the population. You've never gotten a whole population or even a majority to get people on board. And I know that probably this mic is going to be catching what my mom's TV is doing, but you know what? I'm just going to let it go. So apologies to Kaz. I know he's going to be saying something. But anywho, I just, I'm just weary of a lot of ideologies today and the folks who try to promote the platforms of these groups. Because it's all so pitiful. It's also pandering. That's all it is. Whether it's the whole, let's go ahead and, even though we talk about ACAB for all this time, now let's go ahead and praise the DC police for defending the Capitol. I thought you were socialists. I thought you were folks that wanted to take over this country. Now you're praising the police? I thought ACAB, this and that. Oh, like I said, it's only a matter of winning. And I think I've done this before in a video, but people will sell their souls excuse me, in politics to win. They will give up all their principles and all their scruples to win. And to me, it's like, what's the point of winning if you sell your soul for it? And I think that's what happens with a lot of folks that become dissidents or whatever the case may be. Or the folks who, join the wrong faction and they just get kicked out or killed in some ways, But we have to question, is it really worth it? But on a bigger level, though, it comes down to the selfishness that exists. There's selfishness, but there's also self-importance, and there's also the idea of self-righteousness. Now, I think what I was describing earlier was self-righteousness, this idea that we have to be able to pander. They don't like to use the word pander, but we have to be able to reach these different demographics, like marketing, right? And it doesn't really mean much, I would say. Because if when you appeal to everybody, you appeal to no one. I think that it's so disappointing to see what has occurred with politics in general. I don't even say that. Makes it sound like I'm crying, but I'm just. Anywho, but I think that it's just pitiful. And I think that it goes to show this is why the system continues to exist, is because they have so propagandized us to a point about being selfish and being every man for themselves. And it's just like, maybe the detractors are correct. The detractors of socialism, when they say, well, capitalism has created a bottom that's better than it was 100 years ago. Oh, well, it's true. But the thing is, though, if you don't play along, then you could be living on the street, this and that. That still does exist. I don't know. I mean, this is nothing new for the channel, right? Hearing me blackpilled about stuff, it's like, oh, wow. Uncle Thomas being blackpilled? Wow, I've never heard that before. Rolling eyes. I know. I don't blame y'all. I don't know. It's just extra so when you see folks just giving in, just saying the DC, the DC insurrection, the MAGA Pete's were terrorists, this and that. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I think half the reason people are mad is because it wasn't them. And I said that at the time. I think a lot of folks have. But I think a lot of lefties are angry because it wasn't them that had folks that were going in there and being wild, Like I say, what is it that... I mean, I keep on bringing up these irrelevant groups. What about groups like PSL or DSA, this and that? What are they doing? Not a whole fuckload of a lot. I don't know. I just... There's a lot of shit I don't have the patience for anymore. And I've said it before. I don't have the patience for Jason Unruh continuing to dress... it's like, I'm going to be 40 years old almost. I'm going to have a fucking mohawk. Why? It's like, come on, dude. It's like, make fun of Caleb Maupin all you want to, but at least Caleb Maupin is at least aware of his age and at least is trying to be realistic in some way. I'm sure he does talk to ordinary people in some way, wherever he lives in Brooklyn, Whereas I get the feeling from Jason Unruh, when he goes to the stylist, as I've heard him say, I don't get the feeling that he talks to that many people. Whatever his job is. I doubt that he still works at that furniture shop that he discovered. What book is it? I'm trying to think of it. Which one? I think it's the Communist Manifesto. But because I'm pretty sure when I heard the debate that he had with Richard Spencer and Eric Stryker, I'm pretty sure that's what he said, that he was working at a furniture shop and discovered the Communist Manifesto, started reading it, and that's how he got started. I don't have the patience for people like him. Same thing with infrared, this and that. I just don't have the patience for these folks. I do not have the patience for the LARPing. I don't have the patience for the whole cope that goes on. And I think in some of these videos, I kind of reflected some of that LARP. But now I just kind of feel, I just don't want to be a part of it. It's the same thing with Twitter. I've tried to go back to Twitter. It's just like, it's stale over there, I mean, I don't know, man. I think that maybe that's my selfishness or whatever. But I feel like when you've been online so long that you just don't know what way is up anymore. you're just kind of stuck, and maybe this job and maybe going out and seeing what people actually think about things, maybe that'll change my perspective. Or maybe it'll make it worse. I don't know. But when you get frustrated, when you get disappointed, you're just kind of like, what the hell are you doing? I don't know. This is less about capitalism and selfishness and just more like, what the hell have I been doing all these years? I've watched YouTube since about 2014. Watching the anti-SJW stuff and then going more towards kind of a somewhat lefty idea. Like I say, kind of just going more towards the extremes, both left wing and right wing. And now just kind of feeling like, where do we go from here? We've seen all the stuff from, the stuff that goes on in Portland. It seems like every other week. We've seen Chaz. We saw the riots this summer. And you say, where do we go from here? Where do we go? We see the arguments of, against all this, and you're just like, where can we possibly go? Where is the energy going to go? It's what a lot of people are asking, I imagine. People are coping. They've gone back to the partisan politics of Democrat versus Republican. And they'll say, and y'all know who I'm talking about to a point, but they'll say, oh, well, Democrats may not be great, but they're better than Republicans. They're controlled, they have interest in all this other stuff that's against the working class, but they're better than the Republicans. Republicans are going to be irrelevant, la, 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 la. And I don't have the patience. I don't have the ability where you hear this cope of we will win. I'm so tired of that. I don't know. I'm not going to stop doing politics because now I'm kind of stuck in this as mediocre as I am. There's a lot of details I leave out. And there's a lot of videos that I see. It's like, should I talk about that? But then that person doesn't, and you see 20 other people pretty much do the same video. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to try to do something off the beaten path slightly. Talking about South Africa. And, I know a lot of folks, especially the right, talks about South Africa, but it's an issue that a lot of folks, they just don't want to talk about, in the political YouTube sphere in general. But anywho, just one of those things where you're just kind of like, this is like Uncle Thomas video number 5 or 6, where it's just like, I regret getting into this politics stuff because I don't really know what to believe anymore because I've been burned, not as much as some people, and not, I haven't lost friends or something like that, but it's just like, well, I guess it's just a question of what do I really believe? I don't know. Anywho, hopefully y'all enjoyed that wham wham boo hoo video. And I think I'll keep it there. Anyway, see you later. Goodbye.